Hey everybody, Brandon Axman with you for a brand new edition of Coach's Corner here on News Channel Nebraska 48 and ColumbusNewsTeam.com as we are expanding the show's coverage now going into winter sports. So the way this is going to work, a little bit different than the football format. It's going to be on a 3-week rotation. Boys basketball this week, girls basketball next week, and wrestling covering Columbus High, SCOTUS, and Lakeview. So glad you are with us. Let's talk about today's show, which is going to be boys basketball, starting with the Columbus Discoverers. And as pretty much everybody here knows, Jimmy Moats is in his first year at the helm for Columbus. They're currently 1-4, 5 games into the season. I went out and talked to Coach Moats at Columbus High School, and he said not necessarily the start they were hoping for, but he's still feeling positive as he and his players are getting used to each other.
We're trial and error right now with a lot of things. We've got a lot of guys that are playing their first varsity minutes for the year. We've only got 3 guys returning that even played a varsity minute. So again, you look at who we've played early on. We played a really good Beatrice team, a solid Elkhorn team who's got a nice win at Boys Town. Northeast, who beat Bellevue West last Saturday, we had them on the ropes for 3 quarters. And then Northwest, who took Crete to overtime and lost by 1. I mean, we played a really good schedule. And I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't mention Hastings right now, because Hastings is playing very well. And they really came out and popped us pretty good last Saturday, or last weekend, I should say. So again, we're still learning. We've done some good things. Our attention to details got to get better. I like a lot of the things I've seen from our kids. Our kids are playing hard and they're competing. I think our fan base is seeing that. So it's early on in the season. We're still trying to work some kinks out. Our guys are still trying to feel me out, and I'm still trying to get a feel for them as well. So still a lot to learn here early on in the year.
Well, and talking about early on in the season, we had a chance to go to Beatrice and get a very small sample size of what you guys have going on. They got out to a huge lead, but the positive takeaway is your defense, you really kind of settled down and you made it a game at halftime, and that wasn't against an easy team, the team that's one of the top in Class B.
No, and you're talking about a team at home that's really good, has been traditionally good. You know, you take away the first 2-3 minutes of that game to start, you know, our kids battled back and made it a game. We cut to 6 at half. We had our opportunities. We had it cut to 5 midway through the third, and I think we went 3 possessions where we didn't score, and they ended up, I think, going on a little bit of a run. So again, it's a tough opener for our kids that haven't played varsity basketball, and you know, we built from it. We turned around the next day and got a win against a good Elkhorn team. So again, a lot of positives. We're learning. We're addressing those things in practice. We're just trying to get better week by week, and we've got our work cut out for us here the next couple games.
And you know, after that Elkhorn win, you were 1-1, and then you had Northeast, your alma mater. What was that like, having them come to town and coaching against Coach Mercer and some players you know and the school you used to go to?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of the irony of the whole deal with having to play them with your home opener as a first-year coach here at Columbus. But, you know, it wasn't necessarily about that. It was about our kids and those 13 kids that wore the Columbus jersey. And, you know, it was a great crowd. The environment was awesome. I thought our fans were loud. Our students did a terrific job of creating a lot of noise that night. You know, Dave and I go back to even as little kids growing up, following Northeast basketball. We played high school baseball together. So, I mean, it was a fun night. Granted, we didn't come out on top. I thought our kids gained a lot of a valuable experience against a team that was in this Class A state semifinals last year.
And then you turned around and had the games against Hastings and Northwest. Obviously couldn't quite get it done, a very close game against Northwest, but you know, now before the GNAC tournament, the holiday tournament, if you will, you have 2 more games. Did you set any goals for your kids?
We just got to get better. You know, we got to go to Norfolk here coming up, which is not an easy place to play, as many people know. It's going to be a fun environment, a loud environment, you know, a small gym, and they're traditionally very good at home. And then having to turn around and play Seward, who's playing pretty well right now at 3-1. They got to play Pius here coming up. They've got a nice player in Brevin Sloop who's really can score the ball. So we've got 2 tough games here before the moratorium. Then we got to come back and go play 3 out at McCook, and we're probably going to end up playing, you know, a really good team to start the tournament. So again, we've got a tough December here coming up, and hopefully we can finish here and eke out a few wins.
Well, just talking now personnel as we're getting closer to wrapping this thing up. You have some young guys in Cook, but just what have you seen from your players, things you'd like them to improve on? Obviously, you said get better and kind of get used to your system, but if you want to highlight a couple of the individuals who have stood out and what you expect to see down the line.
Well, a kid like Michael Cook as a sophomore right now has by far been a nice go-to guy for us. who had a great game against Beatrice. He's getting better. I'd like to see him shoot the ball a little bit more. He's done a better job on the boards, and I mean, he's playing all 5 positions for us essentially. Dallas Oberg, Mitch Griner, the 2 guards we got back from a year ago, they've kind of struggled here a little bit early on scoring the ball, but they've done some other nice things in terms of rebounding, sharing the basketball, and taking some charges even defensively. But we've had some nice contributions from some role guys, Drew Sterick, John Lucky, Kobe Ackerson. Was a kid that hardly even played a year ago. That's been a nice surprise for us and has really done a good job. And Trey Wrinkles, our energy guy, off the bench, and Andy Pike as a sophomore has given us some good minutes. So we're getting contributions from several people. Again, these are kids that have hardly played varsity basketball, that we're throwing them to the wolves right away against some of the best teams in Class A and Class B. So they're learning. As coaches, we're learning, and our goal all year long has just been to get better each week.
Closing this thing out, how is the mentality of your team, and how are they buying into your system you're bringing to Columbus basketball?
Oh, I think the kids have done a terrific job. I haven't faulted our kids' effort all year. You know, they've done a terrific job in terms of coming to work, and they've been pretty coachable for the most part, but we've got to do a better job in terms of the attention to detail, in terms of what we want to do on both ends of the floor. Our ball movement has to get better. We got to value possessions better. We got to do a better job on the glass, because we've been out rebounded, I think, 3 or 4 times already this year. So we've got areas we got to improve upon. But as long as our kids continually work and bring it each day in practice, and come game night, we can execute, we're going to be just fine down the road here in January and February.
All right, Coach, well, thank you for stopping and taking the time. We'll be following up with you in 2 more short weeks.
Hey, thanks, Naker down.
Well, now for the second segment, we are going to take a look at the number 2 rated Columbus Scotus Shamrocks. They are on fire coming out of the gates this basketball season, currently sitting at 4-0. And even though they lost Grant Lom, they're still one of the more balanced teams Coach Anutka has said he's coached in a long time.
I think we've played well so far. Defensively the other night at Concordia, we gave up 11 3-pointers, and they were really shooting the ball really well, but we played well offensively and scored 74 points ourselves. I think the defense so far has been a hallmark for us. We held Guardian Angels to 40. We held Grand Island Central Catholic to 26. We're off to a solid start. Obviously, the win at St. Cecilia was a really good win for us, so that was important to get that win. So I like where we're at right now.
I know St. Cecilia, the big thing was the defense your team played against the defending Class C2 champions. Have you been feeling that that's continued throughout this early season and the defense is playing a big part?
Well, I think it is. I think that we need to make sure that we're always paying attention to those details on defense, knowing who the other team's best shooters are, trying to take away their strengths. That's just something that we have to do on a nightly basis in order to be successful, because we play such a difficult schedule.
And basically, that was the closest game of the season you had. You took a GICC team that got 3rd last year, obviously a little depleted, but you beat them by 20, and you've been playing good on the offensive end as well.
Yeah, we struggled a little bit on the offensive end that night. They played some good, hard man-to-man defense. They had all week to prepare for us, so, I'm not surprised that we struggled a little bit offensively there, but we did a lot of trapping that night. We did a lot of 1-3-1, a lot of man traps, and that really set the tone for our offense.
And on how your team has been this year, obviously last year was Lom and the offense centered around that, but we've talked about it before now. You have a number of players, 3 or 4 guys who could go for double digits and lead the team at any night. How has that change sort of been this year, and how do you like that with the team chemistry you have?
Yeah, well, I think that we're the most balanced that we've been in a long time. The other night at Concordia, we had 4 guys in double figures, and our 5th guy had 8 points. We almost had all 5 starters in double figures. So, that's tremendous. And that's not a surprise to me. Those guys are really talented basketball players. So, I think it's something that we should expect every night, to be honest with you. Teams have tried to throw junk defenses against us or play another defense against us. We have to have all of our guys confident and ready to shoot the basketball. That includes a guy like Nate Ostick. He needs to be shooting those threes. When the people leave him open, Jackson Kump needs to be shooting the 3 when he's open as well, too.
I like that. That was my next question. As you got into sort of personnel, you talked about Ostick and Kump, but what else have you seen from your starters and some of the players, what they're bringing personnel-wise?
Well, I think Cody Marachik's off to a really good start this season. He's taking the ball the hole really well. He understands that his defense feeds his offense as well, too. He had 22 points the other night against Concordia. Miles Putnam's off to a really solid start. He's been in double figures in 3 out of our 4 games so far this year. Really happy with him. Jackson got to double figures, like I said, the other night. He hit a couple threes for us. Nate Ostick's the table setter for us. He gets people to basketball, but he had 14 points the other night as well, too. He's a deadly three-point shooter when he's got his feet set and ready to go. Dalton, Dalton's been seeing a lot of the defensive focus on him. The other night, Concordia took one guy off the perimeter and just sat him in the paint so that he could double team Dalton as soon as he caught the ball. So that's something that we got to be ready for. So we've seen a lot of different things. It hasn't slowed us down too much, but we also know we got to continue to get better.
All right, Coach. Well, wrapping this thing up now, you have a very big weekend in front of you, 2 undefeated teams in Pierce and Crete. You're obviously in coach mode right now. What's it like as you look forward to this Friday, Saturday?
It's war mode right now. These are 2 really, really good basketball teams. Pierce is extremely well coached. They're not a big basketball team by any stretch, but they're very skilled, and they know what they want to do against man-to-man. So you really got to pay attention to your details. You got to know who the shooters are, and we got to get out and stop them. So we're going to have to play some great defense there. Crete's a bigger basketball team. They play a 1-3-1 on defense. We're going to have to move the basketball, find the angles, and find a way to get them stopped, because they're going to look a lot like us. They're going to be long and lean and can really jump, and so they're going to be athletic. They're a team that beat Beatrice a couple weeks ago, so it's going to be a huge test for us.
Well, wrapping this one up, the Lakeview Vikings are sitting in a similar situation as the Discoverers. They have a new head coach in Bryce Roth, who is at the helm for Lakeview, and they are looking for their first win of the season, currently sitting at 0-4, 4 games in. We're going to now hear with the new head coach and see how he feels this year's been going as he's looking to gain some momentum going into the holiday break.
It's 4 games in. It's hard to tell where you're really at. I like our progress. There is initially, like you said, a lot of the learning curve when it comes to new coaches and new philosophy, terminology, and all that stuff. The bottom line is we've played 2 really exceptionally good Class B teams. We see them later in the year. I'm not sure we necessarily beat them, but we definitely give them a better game. It's hard to see, our success probably has not been showing up in wins. We have played Boone Central very tough at home, and we just had 1 bad quarter. That's a consistency thing that we're kind of looking for offensively more than anything. And then, of course, against Wayne, same thing. I thought we played a very complete game. We had 9 turnovers. We got the shots we wanted. We defended very well, held them to 44, and Wayne's traditionally a pretty good scoring team. We did everything we needed to do, and at the end of the day, you want to tell your guys, hey, good job, your work's rewarded. We just didn't put the ball in the hole. We shot 30% for the game, really. So.
Well, just looking at your schedule, adding up the totals, your first 3 games, combined record is 11-2, so kind of going off of that, you had a very tough way to start things off. Wayne, you would maybe think was more of the chance for a winnable game for you guys, and you fell just short, but are you seeing improvements, with the tougher competition, and now you're getting into your 5th game coming up on 6th as well?
Yeah, and that's what we're hoping for. All I can ask our guys to do is get better every night out, and I think we have. Aurora, maybe that night I felt like we took a step back, but Aurora, I think, would have beat the Golden State Warriors that night, maybe. I don't know, but they're a really talented team. But yeah, I guess, to answer your question, I think we're looking to take these next 2 games this week at home as well and try to get some confidence. And for us, just, playing our game, playing the way we need to play to win and be successful. And I think that's what we'll do. We got a lot of guys stepping up. Our big guys have been playing better. I think that's something we can attack against Centura on Friday night, especially too, with our bigs inside.
Yeah, and if you want to go a little bit more in depth on some of your players and what you've seen, bright spots for some of your key personnel for the Lakeview Vikings early on.
Yeah, well, I can start in the interior. Kyle Grotlushin is a really good defender. He's got good athleticism. He can actually shoot the ball from the perimeter a lot better too, but he hasn't taken a lot of threes. Quinn Madison, who you guys spotlighted and did a great job of earlier today in your report on him, Player of the Week, Players to Watch. He's a great player too. He's a great rebounder, a defender. He's an enforcer, and he has capability to step out and shoot a 3 too. He came off of almost a double-double game against Wayne, 1 rebound short of a double-double. Around the perimeter, I think we're finding that combination of people that we need. But I really think that as the season goes on, we'll have more depth, and we can play 8 or 9, 10 guys on any given night.
Well, and how are you feeling? You know, it's early on in your coaching career, but so you're getting used to these group of guys still, but what's the experience been like as you are 4 games in?
You know, I'm amazed with these guys, and I got to work with some of them in football with Coach Frenzen. They're just hardworking guys, and they got great attitudes and really good senior leadership out of our 6 seniors. You know, I can't say enough about their effort and their attitude, even, you know, with not the start that they wanted. I feel like we still have guys that are buying in and really trying to focus on the things we emphasize in practice. And I keep talking to them about the process, and, you know, sometimes you get tired of how slow the process is, but you know, it is, and I think we're just waiting for the light bulb to come on, and you know, we'll start playing some really good basketball for 32 minutes, because we have seen it for bits and pieces. Just we need to have consistency, and again, mainly on the offensive end. If I had to put a specific part of our game where we need some help.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Coach's Corner, the first of many winter sports editions to come in the near future on News Channel Nebraska 48 and Columbus News Team. That was the boys basketball season. Again next week, it's going to be the girls, so be sure to tune in to find out how the Shamrocks, Lakeview Vikings, as well as Discoverers are doing. I'm Brandon Axpit, and that wraps up this week's show.